radio for the masses.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
If the game is rigged, change the game. Game changer.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
This is Fade to Black with your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Radio Network.
I need your help to get to the year 1985.
You're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Well. Good evening. Fade to Black. Bespoke radio for the masses. Yeah, man. Today's Monday, November 7th, 2022. It's a great day. Let's do this, man. I would like to welcome everybody listening all around the world, all across the United States. Hither and thither, to and fro, back and forth, up and down, east and west, north and south, far and near. This is Fade to Black for KJCR, the Game Changer Network. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. What is cracking, everybody? How you doing? All right. Tonight, very special guest, Scott Wolter, is here. Another open conversation, and the premiere today of Into the Vortex. So we're going to be talking about all of that and much more tonight with Scott. I love it when he's on the show. I just love it. Tomorrow night is our F2B AMA. And Wednesday night is Fader night because Thursday is Linda Moulton Howe. All right. Now, I just want to let everybody know, Friday, it was Thursday after the show, I caught a cold. Came out of nowhere. You can hear it, right? And so I fought it all weekend, and I supplemented up and tried to get rest and everything else. And I already had, I knew that today was the premiere of Into the Vortex. And so there had to be a show today, but I just canceled everything for tomorrow and Wednesday. Linda was already booked, for a couple of weeks. So that's gotta happen. But I don't know. So I'm feeling better, but I can't breathe. So my head is here, but I just can't breathe. And it was really bad. I had a rough night sleeping last night, all weekend. I was like, man, I'm just going to take the week off. I just need to stay in bed. But it is what it is. So tomorrow night, we'll do an AMA if I'm feeling good. And I think I will be. I'm just going to hit the hay tonight. Right after the show. I'm out. I was sneezing, coughing all weekend. It was just brutal. Just hit me like a ton of bricks. I was talking to John Greenwald. I think it was Saturday. And he goes, dude, man, my whole family got a cold. I said, I just got a cold. He goes, man, it's just brutal. I'm like, don't tell me that. I want this to be a 3-day thing. And maybe that psyched me out for this weekend. I was just like, oh, man, this is going to be rough. It's going to be rough. But I started feeling better this afternoon. So I was talking to Sid Goldberg today over at Gaia. The premiere of Into the Vortex went down today. And I was talking to him about the cold. And I said, man, it was just, I'm psyching myself out. I don't know. I'm feeling better. But you know how it is when you got a cold. You go, oh, I'm feeling better. I'm feeling better. I'm feeling better. And then all of a sudden you're not. So let's see what happens. Man, listen to my voice. Ugh. I feel fine. All right. So the link for Into the Vortex is below. I popped it in over on into the chat room earlier in case anybody hasn't seen social media today. But the first episode is out, and the link is below, and you can click on that. And then, of course, throughout social media, everything went out earlier today. So there you go, Into the Vortex, Season 1. And more on that in just a bit. I will be hosting and emceeing the Conscious Life Expo this February 10th through the 13th at the LAX Hilton. Tickets and info. Tickets went on sale last week, finally. So ConsciousLifeExpo.com. The links are below. 2 weeks after that, it'll be Saturday, April 1st. I'll be hosting the Parapod Festival at the Hyatt Regency in Valencia, California. It's a live one-day podcast, awards, film festival, media event. You can submit your podcast, your media, your TV series, your documentary, whatever you've got right now on the link below, parapodfilmfest.com. Then a week after that, April 7th through the 14th, 2023, I will be hosting and presenting on the Hidden Secrets Seminar at Sea cruise with our guest tonight, Scott Wolter. He's going to be there. Adam Apollo is going to be there. Nick Pope, Brad Olson, Vivian Chave. All right. Now the links are below, and come take a cruise with us. All right. All right. Follow me on Twitter at JChurch Radio. Man, even though I was fighting a cold this weekend, I was watching Twitter just implode. Oh my God. Right? Geez. Not my personal feed. Nah, that's all that's fine. It's everything else. Oh man. Woo. How quickly something can come unraveled. I'll just leave that right there. The Sandbox is hashtag F2B on Twitter. I am so glad that I just used Twitter for the show. I don't get all wrapped up in that stuff, man. I don't. I was talking to somebody last week, and they called me up. So Jimmy, man, this, and this. I said, man, I spend like 5 minutes a day on social media. Yeah, but no, I'm not going to go and no, I'll take your word for it. But no, that's it. And I was watching what was happening over the weekend. Wow. That's why I just don't get wrapped up in that stuff. My feed is fine. I don't click on that homepage though. That Twitter feed, woo! Oh my God, what a mess! What a mess! Hashtag F2B is the Sandbox though, right there on Twitter. Oh man! All right, Scott Wolter is our guest tonight. It is the premiere of season 1 of Into the Vortex, and it was kind of a weird go for me because I hadn't seen the show, and I taped it, and I don't like watching myself. And so that was that. I thought, man, I'm getting some pretty good feedback, but I hadn't seen it, right? So I went and watched the intro. I watched the first 5 minutes of the show today. I mean, I knew all the questions after that. I just wanted to see the editing and how they did the intro, and hadn't seen that yet. So that was pretty cool. And I think it's going to be great. Just as long as the editing is good. I know the content, the interviews, and all of that is great. So it's up to post-production, to make sure that, you can deliver good content, but if it's not edited great, you can blow good content. But I think it's okay. So again, the link is below. All right, let's get to the breaking news. Crazy news out of Egypt. Archaeologists in Egypt have discovered a vast tunnel beneath a temple at the ancient city of Taposiris Magna, west of Alexandria. The 4,281-foot-long tunnel was discovered by Egyptian Dominican Republic archaeological team. Ancient Egyptian builders constructed the 6.6-foot-high tunnel at a depth of about 65 feet beneath the ground. That is it's almost a mile long. The tunnel dates to 300 BC, at a time when Egypt was ruled by a dynasty of kings descended from Alexander the Great, one of Alexander the Great's generals. It's pretty cool. The tunnel goes up, and then it's got a gabled ceiling, and it's just massive. They think it was for water. Yeah, there you go. All right, check this out. This went down yesterday. A surprise solar flare has burst from an area of dense magnetism on the sun's surface, causing a temporary radio blackout in parts of Australia and all of New Zealand. The M5 class medium strength solar flare was recorded by NASA's Solar Dynamics Observatory as it erupted from the sunspot AR 3141 at 7:11 p.m. Eastern Time yesterday, Sunday, November 6th. It's one of the big fears that I have. Just the crazy solar flare EMP. We're just not ready for it. We're not prepared. We're not prepared. When it goes down, we're in the Stone Age, if it does. All right. You guys remember Amica, right? The robot with her eerily realistic facial expressions and her movements. You remember her, right? Well, some say she is the world's most advanced humanoid robot. But if that wasn't impressive enough, soon she could be walking. That's right. Because the robot, which has been designed by British company Engineered Arts, has revealed that engineers are working on prototype legs, which could be ready within the next year. And that, my friends, is frightening. Astronomers using the International Gemini Observatory, operated by NSF's NORA lab, have discovered the closest known black hole to Earth. It's just 1,600 light years away in the constellation of Monoceros and dubbed Gaia BH1. Yeah. It's not very big. It's like 10 times the density of our sun. So there you go. All right. Where am I at? Officials in Northern California are investigating an incident in which a bright ball of light, some say it was a flaming basketball, which seemed to come from space, is a meteorite that destroyed a house in Nevada County. Dustin Procida said he was inside his house with his dogs when something hit his home and started a fire, destroyed the house. Captain Josh Miller of the Penn Valley Fire Department said they received calls at about 7:30 p.m. for a structure fire caused by space debris. It's unreal. All right, let's get this show cracking. On this day in history, 1940, the Tacoma Narrows Bridge was open to traffic on July 1st, 1940. It collapses due to high winds on this day in 1940, just 4 months after it opened. That's right. On this day in 1940. All right, Fader fact. What's moving? Something's moving. Oh, that's me. I'm leaning. Fader fact. Stewardesses. All right, I'll say it again. Stewardesses is a word that is no longer in use. We know that. And it's also the longest word that is typed with only the left hand. That is your Fader fact. I've been doing a lot of left-handed typing facts lately. Yeah, I'm obsessed. All right. Whew. Tonight, very special guest Scott Wolter is here. It's going to be just another open conversation, and it's the premiere of my new show, Into the Vortex, on Gaia TV. And the link for Into the Vortex, Episode 1, Season 1, is below. Go and do it. Tomorrow night is our Fade to Black AMA. Wednesday is Fader night, okay? Not Thursday, because Thursday, it's Linda Moulton Howe. All right? All right. Now, I got to hit those River Moon coffee. I need it. rivermoonwellness.com. Fade to Black blend. Man, I am just jammed up, but I feel good. You know, it's yeah. I think I'm past it. That's her. Thank you, Ken. Isn't that crazy? Can you imagine that walking around, Amica? All right. Go Beckley Tappy. All right. So, Into the Vortex premiered today. And over the weekend, as myself and Guy and everything were prepping and getting everything ready and knowing, November 7th and the trailer went out. I think the trailer went out Friday. And there it was on the trailer, November 7th. And right. And I got to thinking. Now, a couple of weeks ago, I leaked a little bit about the show. I didn't say the network or anything like that or the name of the show. But what I did say was that I was happy. Now, here's the deal. The dealing with networks, I've done so much TV and film and radio that you go and you're made, promises and contracts and all of that. And I've never been happy. Never. No, not even close. And this time around, I felt different. And I felt happy. All right. And I knew that and like I said earlier, it's all about the editing. The content is there. I'm not worried about that. But it's just got to be put together right. But I felt it in my bones. And after watching today, that 5 minutes, 6 minutes, I don't think I got 7 minutes. I was like, okay, all right. This is going to be great. I'm cool. And it was a great feeling. But here's the deal. And I hope everybody enjoys it. And we've got 11 more shows for this season. And then we'll start working on season 2. But here's the thing. This is where I just want you guys to listen to me. The last few months, I've burnt the candle at both ends. I worked way too much. I traveled too much. I worked too much. I didn't take any time off. I didn't take care of me. And there's a very isolated thing that happens in my world. I have the audience, but the rest of the time, because when you work 7 days a week, you don't see friends. You don't unwind. You don't have conversations. Everything is work, shooting and this and that and cameras and recording and dress and makeup and flights and stuff and it's just and I burnt out. And I started to think to myself, now this is how far burnt out I got. I started to think, look, I've achieved everything in life that I've wanted to achieve. Yeah. Music industry, art, radio, television, film. It's just like everything that I've and I've done it. And and when you're feeling burnt out and you're feeling isolated and you don't have people around you, you start to have these weird thoughts. Man, let's just go do something else now. Let's go find something else. Let's go find another mountain to climb. And I was right there. I'm like, man, I'm just tired. Just tired, man. I'm going to take a couple of months off and then figure out the next stage of my life. I'm going to be 60. And I started thinking that. And then no, this is what I want to do. This right here. The TV is fine. The show was great and all of that. And it's going to be an awesome season 2. But what I'm saying is, and I want all of you to understand that the last, I was going to say 3 or 4 months, maybe 6 months, but 3 or 4 months, I went balls out. And I'm talking about working 16, 18 hours every day, 7 days a week. And you start to, man, it's like this morose mortality thing. You're like, man, but it's what I want to do. So I'm not complaining or anything. When I watched Into the Vortex today and knowing, I've got Scott Wolter on the show tonight and it's going to be a wonderful week and everything else, you get your second win, but that's not my point. When I watch Into the Vortex today, I just watched the intro. I was like, this is what it's about. This is what I have strived for. Is it good enough? Are people going to look at this? How are they? Is the information going to be there? Is it going to be this? And I feel that it is. But what's the reality is for me is that the amount of work that I put in, and I'm talking straight at you right now, whatever it is that you want to do, put in the work and go and get it done. Don't make excuses. Don't make excuses for yourself. Don't point fingers. Go and get it done. I chose to do this. I've been given opportunities. And I have gone for it. This is 10 years. I'm talking about the last 4 months, but I've been doing this for 10 years. I'm humbled. I'm thankful. I'm appreciative. I'm all of that. And I go and I cop a cold on Thursday. I've got all this work to do and I don't have the energy and I'm trying to keep going. I'm trying to keep my foot off the gas. I'm like, man, but then I saw the show today. It's all good. It's all good. I think that, this is my other point. I stressed myself out, worried, is the show going to be good? Is Fade to Black, is that, and what? I stressed myself out. I think I stressed myself into my immune system being compromised. All of that. Today, which swings me right back to this rant. I took the turn, and I think it was because I unstressed myself, and I feel great. Not better than I did this morning when I got up. Let me tell you something. It was stressful. I love all of you. Thank you so much for putting up with me. It's been a crazy ride this last 10 years. Into the Vortex is now on the air, season 1. I want everybody to go and check it out. I think it's awesome. I think you're going to learn something. And there is a lot we have selected. And the way that we have structured all of this, this is the deep dive on every show. And just go and check it out. The links are below. I want you to go and see it. All right? All right. This is Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Scott Wolter is here, a friend of mine that has been with me from the very, very beginning. And he's here with me tonight to help celebrate the premiere of Into the Vortex. That's right. We're just going to have an open conversation about all things unexplained. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. I'll be right back after this short break. Stay with us.
This is Nicole Church, daughter of you-know-who, and you're listening to Fade to Black on JimmyChurchRadio.com and the Game Changer Network.
You're listening to Jimmy Church and Fade to Black on the X.
You're listening to Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
Fade to Black will now pause for alien identification.
The station that talks the net.
When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roast it to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Yes, River Moon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Just click on the banner at JimmyChurchRadio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today.
This is the only way forward.
This is Fade to Black. Make contact.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and you can get our podcast for just $2 per month. All you have to do is click on the podcast banner over at JimmyChurchRadio.com. I'll be the host and MC once again this year for the 2023 Conscious Life Expo, February 10th through the 13th at the LAX Hilton in Los Angeles, California. This is a 4-day live event featuring hundreds of speakers, exhibitors, and not-to-miss special events. Check this out. Linda Moulton Howe, Bashar, Deborah King, Daniel Sheehan, George Norrie, David Wolf, Sean Stone, Danny Brinkley, Susan Slaughter, the Leo King, David Palmer, Scott Wolter, and another 200 inspirational speakers. Special events include a disclosure lunch with me, Expo's Got Talent, hosted by me, a seance with Susan Slaughter, the George Norrie Forum, and the Leo King is going to DJ at a dance party. Over 200 exhibitors, over 200 speakers. It's the biggest event of the year. Tickets are on sale now at ConsciousLifeExpo.com. For everything you need, info, tickets, schedule, and speakers, please visit ConsciousLifeExpo.com. Go back, Lee Tappy.
Do you have an interest in the paranormal? Then you'll love the unxnetwork.com. The X is your streaming audio and video for everything supernatural, strange, and mysterious, like UFOs, Bigfoot, ghosts, and so much more. From hosts like Jimmy Church, Whitley Strieber, Micah Hanks, and Christina Gomez. Visit the unxnetwork.com show page for a complete list of all the paranormal programs you'll find on the X. Be sure to follow us on Twitter for updates at KUNXDB. Follow our Facebook group, UnX Network. Find the podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcast. It's time. It's new. It's the X.
9 out of 10 geneticists agree.
Fade to Black is not your father's radio show on the Game Changer Radio Network.
Hi, this is Rob Reiner from Anvil, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
What's up? I'm Chris. What up? This is Kyle Manson. You're listening to Jimmy Church Radio.
All right. Welcome back. Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Scott Wolter is with us. Tonight's just going to be another open conversation with Scott and I. And also, we're going to celebrate the premiere of Into the Vortex. Went down today. The links for the new show are below. All right. Scott, he's an author. He's the host of America Unearthed and has been the president of the American Petrographic Services since 1990. He's responsible for the independent testing of the Kensington Rune stone back in the year 2000, starting in 2000. He's been the principal petrographer for more than 5,000 investigations throughout the U.S., Canada, Puerto Rico, including the evaluation of fire-damaged concrete at the Pentagon following the attacks of September 11th, 2001. All of his links are below, and I would like to welcome back to Fade to Black, the one, the only, Scott Wolter. Scott, good evening, my man. How you doing?
I'm doing great, Jimmy. It's always good to be with you. And I do want to say one thing right before we get started. Congratulations on your new show. It premieres tonight. How you feeling, man?
Man, well, I'm feeling pretty good because you're on the team. See, that's the thing. That's, that's it. Every time I start a new project or there's something going on, you're the first person I call and I go, dude, you want to do this? And you say yes, and we do it. And there you go. So yeah, thank you for all of your support over the years, man.
Of course. I mean, you've supported me, and now you've got a new gig going here. And when you asked me about it, I'm like, how can I help? And we had a really good time when we shot that episode. I don't know if we want to say much about it, or do you want to talk about it? But
no. Let's not. We can talk about having fun shooting it, but
hell yeah.
But the content, let everybody enjoy that. And even for me, Scott, I'll say this about our conversation. You and I don't know how many things that we've done over the years. I don't. It's countless at this point. But even for me to sit there and learn something and do what we did for Into the Vortex, it's just like Scott is bringing it, and there you go. So everybody's going to love it.
Yep.
I've seen some clips. Here, let's run this. This is the trailer. And you know what's funny? You're in the trailer that went out on Friday. Have you seen this yet?
No, I have seen nothing.
Our government in the possession of a crash retrieval that was made not on planet Earth.
We have a pretty good idea where those things were taken. It's not a secret anymore that those things have been retrieved. They've been retrieved all over the world by special teams. They've been taken to the best labs.
The Ukrainian researchers said, we see these UAP under all kinds of visible conditions, a lot of the time in lots of different locations.
We also have the Webb telescope that can look at such an object from a different direction than the observatories on Earth.
The myths are consistent with oftentimes referred to as the gods.
And there's a lot more going on here, not just on this planet, but on other planets.
I think this is the Ark of the Covenant.
There were actually multiple arcs.
History isn't what we've been taught, and we're going to get to the bottom of it.
I love it.
There you go, man. And
Wow.
I'm excited. I'm excited. You know,
Well,
when
there's some friends of mine on there, the guys that are people I really respect and I look up to, pretty much all of them. But Randall, I know quite well. Tim, I know very well. And I mean, for him to say multiple arcs, I mean, wait a minute. I thought there was like one arc. What's going on?
Yeah, that he's you know, the premiere tonight, episode 1 was Timothy.
Really?
And
Okay.
yeah, he is, you know, I don't here's you know the drill, man. You deliver the content, and then after that, you're just along for the ride. What show, what episode, what this, who's that, what the edit, you know, that's it. I have nothing to do with any of it.
Yeah.
But they chose Tim Hogan for episode 1, and I mean he's just fantastic. But it's just so weird. I have no idea. Everybody's asking me, you know, who's on. I don't know.
You don't know. Well, you know what? I know exactly what you're talking about because one of the things that I was concerned about when I first did America Unearthed was we shot these, you know, what I thought were really good episodes in the field, and I did the voiceovers, and then you turn it over to a group of people, and, you know, your life, your future, your credibility is in their hands. And I have to say that I was very pleased and, you know, the way and appreciative of how they always made me look and sound way better than I was. And so I'm curious, have you seen this first episode? Did you watch it?
Yeah, well, I watched no, I can't stand watching myself.
Oh yeah, join the club, pal.
Yeah. No, I watched the opening, the intro today. I wanted to see the edits and the music and how they laid everything out. And I watched the first maybe question and how you know, just how it, because I just wanted to make sure that it was smooth. And if it's smooth in the beginning, I know that the content is there. Just so everybody knows, I was the one thing that I wanted to do, and so did Gaia, by the way, is that it's a half-hour show. We shoot for a half hour. No edits, no takes, no nothing. And that's, you know, so that's what's there. You get it. I think the episode today was 39 minutes with the intro and the out or whatever. That's what we shot. We shot for the same thing with you.
Yeah.
You were in the studio with us for half hour, 35 minutes. That's it. It's boom, boom. And the other thing that I wanted to do was I wanted to, you know, so I've got my my little sidekick co-host, Josh, and who's just amazing. But what I wanted to do, and this was just you've done so much TV, so appreciate this, Scott. I said to Gaia, I said, look, let's, instead of doing a ton of editing, let's have somebody in the studio with me playing the video, showing the graphics, and then we sit and we talk about them instead of just doing it in post. Let's do it live.
Right there.
Let's do it live. And that, I think it was very, very, very effective. I think it's really cool.
Well, you know what? I think sometimes shows can be a little overproduced, right? And it's kind of nice to have something that feels more raw and earthy and like you're there with them, and it's not overproduced. It's real. And that's exactly what we did. I mean, it's, you know, let's face it, if you're only going to be in there for whatever, 45 minutes at the most, you got to be on. You got to be ready, and, you know, you got to be ready to handle what were thrown at us. you know, and the graphics came up. They were pulling them up in real time, and sometimes there's something to be said for that. I think it feels really good instead of something that's, you know, super slick and sometimes overproduced. You know what I mean? I mean, rough and ready works sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. And see, this is the thing is, you know, so we pull up a graphic and you know, we're looking at it in the studio and we're talking about it in real time as we're looking at it. Yep. You can't fake that. It's a real conversation, and I'm just so happy about that. I'm just, I mean, I've tried to do this with so many networks, you know, over the years and things. I even you know, going back to coast, and you and I have done so many coast to coast together too, as well as Fade to Black, is that I like a conversation. I don't have notes. I don't print things. I don't, you know, it's just a conversation. And I wanted to be able to capture that on camera. And I think we did it, man. I think we did it.
I can't wait to see the episodes. I felt what we were going to do was going to be kind of what you described. And I'm looking forward. I think it'll be successful. You don't have any ratings back or any feedback, or, I mean, what's the vibe?
It just premiered, man. You know, and
it might be a little early, but you know,
look, they'll tell me the numbers, but I'm not going to ask. No, I don't want to know. It's going to be fine. But see, here's the thing, and when everybody goes and watches it, check this out. Scott, you walked on the set and you saw what they had done. You could see a commitment from the network. They built a massive set, right? And you know, we've got 10 cameras and all of, but here's the thing. I go out, I do a costume change, right? I got a 15-minute window. Next guest is coming in. We sit down, we shoot for 40 minutes. And then done out, you know, and start. That's it, you know, and you know, we're going to shoot 4 of those a day, and it's a well-oiled machine, you know. And when you walked out on the set and you saw the production, what did you think? You probably have never experienced. It's like CNN, right?
Yeah, no, it was totally different than anything I've done. I mean, I've done sit-down interviews where I walk into a set. You know, they get you ready to go and you sit down, but we might be interviewed for 2-3 hours, and then they'll edit that down to maybe, you know, a total, when you add everything up, maybe 5 to 10 minutes.
Yep.
They'll pick the best stuff. This is total in America Unearthed. Are you kidding me? We go on the road for a week. You know, I'll come into the studio and do, you know, the lab shots. Might take 2-3 days. That's per episode. Voiceovers and whatever else we got to do, pickups here and there. I mean, it's a lot of work, and you're shooting 4 episodes a freaking day. I mean, in one day.
Yeah.
So it's
so much fun.
It's a completely different thing, you know?
Yeah, so much fun. Well, see, here's the thing is, we're talking about A-list top shelf guests, right? Number 2, I know all of the guests, but I also know the subject, right? Number 3, well-oiled machine.
Yeah.
So I know I'm able to walk through. Look, I'm on set for 10 hours.
Yeah.
Right. That's a long day. And but just as long as each guest is, you know, at that level, the conversation is going to be just a breeze. I have to be focused.
Yeah,
you know, I mean, the cameras, there are no second takes. That's it, man. We can't go and shoot for 40 minutes and go, you know what? Let's do this again. No, we've got the next guest coming in. That's it. This is live. This is live. We're banging this out.
Let's be honest. You could blow sunshine up all of our fannies about how good you think we are. But look, dude, you're running the show. You're experienced. You know what you're doing. And it shows. When people watch it, they're going to see a guy that knows what he's doing. He's taking care of his guests, and And, you know, if it's okay with you, Sid Goldberg can I mention Sid?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, Sid was, I love that guy. And, you know, we came in, he made us feel welcome. He let you do your thing, let everybody else do their thing. But I spent a little time with him afterwards, and we really had a great conversation. And I know that he plays an integral part of this show.
Yes.
And I got to tell you, man, I haven't known him very long, but I'm very impressed. And he's got to be helping you. And I just want to give him some kudos. He's a really good dude.
Well, I mean, Sid posted this, so I'll go ahead and say this. He did a post over the weekend, and he said, 6 years in the making. 6 years we've worked on this show, and now it's premiering. And I just thought, and Sid and I know the truth. It has been 6 years.
Wow.
It's been 6 years. And I was stuck in contracts before and this, and there was other stuff going on. But we've been, the idea, the germ, right? That the little thing in that Petri dish that was growing was there. And we just fine-tuned it like a jeweler's screw, you know, with a little fine jeweler's watch. And by the time that we pulled the trigger on this, which was about a year and a half ago.
I remember you and I had a conversation. I can talk about this now. You told me what your vision was, what your dream was, and it's happening, man. I mean, whether it takes, you know, a year, 2 years, 6 years, whatever, you had a vision. This is what you wanted to do. And based on that conversation we had a year and a half ago, that's what I experienced. And I think it's awesome.
I remember that conversation, and you and I talked for like 2 or 3 hours that day.
Yeah.
And I said, you know, Scott, in a perfect world, the show would be bop, 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 right? And we discussed that format. Well, now we did it. We pulled it off, and I mean, hats off to Sid. Sid fought for this all the way through. I hope he's listening right now. Sid and I.
If he is, Sid, how did you put up with this guy for 6 years? What the heck? He's a saint.
Sid and I were under so much pressure to deliver this, right? And our expectations, you know, Sid and I work really well together, but we also push each other. And there were a couple of moments, man. There was a couple of moments of sitting there on the phone or in person or whatever, like, man, okay, we need to chill out, or this is going to spin out of control.
Let's go in the other room.
This relationship's going to go to a different level. I called Sid today, and I texted him, and then I called him. I said, man, just thank you. Yeah. I mean, really. I mean, it was now, okay. So the links for the show are below. I want everybody to go and enjoy it. Now that you've got a little behind the scenes, when you see the show, I think you'll appreciate the set design, how we deal with 3 people on set with the cameras and things, but it's a real-time conversation with no edits. It's just smoking good. But here's the thing.
Go ahead. Finish your thought, and then I had a thought I wanted to share just to get your take.
Okay, so here's the thing: did you feel under pressure? Because my questions now, I don't want to get specific about the show, but I want the secrets. And this is happening. You don't have a chance to think about it. Did you feel strange, just spitting stuff out like you were? Because you did. Every guest did.
No, the answer is no. I didn't feel. I mean, I kind of knew that you were going to bring it. I sort of understood a little bit of the format, And I knew that there wasn't going to be a lot of time to sort of set the table. It was like, okay, here's the meal. Let's eat. How do you like it? I mean, I didn't have time to really think, but I kind of like that, because you know what? I think what happens is when people don't have time to think, they sort of just blurt out what they're really thinking.
Right.
And you're going to get the real answer. You're going to get the closest thing to the truth. Maybe you're going to get some stuff that you didn't anticipate. Maybe I'm going to say some things that I'm going to regret that I said. I don't think I did that, but you know what I mean?
That's when you know it's gold.
Right.
If you're walking off the set going, "Oh man, I think I said too much." Yeah.
Did I really say that?
Yeah. Yep. And I'm so happy about that. The thing is, I put, and I was talking about this earlier. There was a lot of pressure to deliver on me personally. And man, and I'm wrapping each episode, and I'm just walking outside just to get my head, and the amount of pressure that you have to put on yourself. Because to be honest with you, man, at that moment for those 30 minutes, I got to be the smartest guy in the world.
Yeah.
I got to be on my game. So does the guest, but you know what I mean? And that's, every
you're driving the bus. You're driving, okay? And we're riding along. I mean, we have to do our part, but you're driving and you're making sure that we're on. I mean, it's a lot of work. Being the host of a show is difficult enough, but again, the kind of hosting that I've done, it's like, if I screw it up, okay, let's do it again, right? Let's do it again. Or if your guest screws up, right? I mean, I may have a beautiful setup for this person and it's beautiful and they screw it up, right? Then you got to do it again. You couldn't do that, man. You had to be on every time.
That's it.
And we had to be on every time.
Yep.
But the beautiful thing is, I mean, at least for you and me, we've done it so much together. We know each other. It was natural. It was really easy, frankly, but I know it's not easy, especially for you. All I had to do was answer the questions and talk about what I already know. Right. And, but you got to tee it up, and people think that's easy. It's not easy, and again, you and I are friends. So, trying to, but making people comfortable, right? When you're the interviewer, you're talking to somebody that you don't know, or you don't know that well, and they're nervous, and you got to make them feel comfortable. There's a lot more to it than people think, and it's a tough job. It's way harder than people think.
Do you feel, and we'll talk about this after the break, do you feel pressure, the way that you investigate and research and then turn around and present this stuff? You're way outside of the box. You are not conventional at all. Do you feel that weight and that pressure to keep not only the facts, but you want to make sure, because people are listening, right? You don't want to say the wrong thing. Do you put that pressure on yourself?
Sometimes, you don't want to overstep your bounds. You don't want to outkick your coverage. You certainly don't want to talk over people's heads. You got to make it understandable. And I got to, when I look back on when we first started, doing that show and other TV stuff, I put more pressure on myself because I wanted to make sure that I was doing the job right, that people were understanding. But then after a while, you get to the point where, and again, this is different than what you did, because you don't have that post stuff where they can clean everything up with between 3 and 4 takes sometimes, right?
Right.
So I knew that I had that buffer, if you will, that cushion. And then it just got easier and easier. And as it got easier for me, we did fewer and fewer takes. And so you do get in a groove and it gets easier with time. But the other thing is you also have to sort of have I'm just doing the best job I can. I'm trying as hard as I can. And if people don't like it or they don't get it, you kind of got to let it go, Yeah.
I learned something from Jay Leno. And for a period of maybe 2 years, 3 years, I was out at the Tonight Show about once a week because I had a musical guest, that was playing on the Tonight Show, sometimes twice a month. But I was out there a lot, right?
Yeah.
And I was there for the tape. And here's the thing, man. And most people don't, unless you've been in the studio audience. I'm speaking about Jay Leno. I can't speak for everything else, but I'm talking about that Tonight Show with Jay Leno. Jay would come out. Okay, so the show taping is 5:00, right? Okay, so Jay would come out and he would say, it's like 3 minutes until 6. He comes out in jeans and his jean shirt, right? He goes, okay, this is how it's going to go down. I'm going to go back. I'm going to throw him on a suit. I'm going to be back here in 3 minutes. We're going to tape. We don't cut, edit. You're going to see the TV commercials. You're going to see everything in real time. That's it. In and out. You guys ready? Yes. Boom. He walks off stage. And I remember the first time that I saw it, I'm like, what do you mean there's no edits? What do you mean we're going to see the commercials? And Jay, and I saw him say the same thing every night to audiences for years. He goes, look, man, 60 minutes or whatever, right? What you see right now is what you're going to see tonight when you get home.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's it. And I would sit back, man, and that's it, man. That's it. The clock's, that's it.
You know what? That's a pro. That's a guy that knows what he's doing. He knows how to do it. And he tells people, it's that old saying, tell people what you're going to do and then just do it. And I mean, obviously after doing it for a while, it gets easier and easier, but I think that's the best way to do it. And just have confidence in your material. I mean, you're a pro. Come on, man. And just do it. And the other thing is, when you're comfortable, the people around you are comfortable. Mm-hmm. And, you put as much pressure on yourself as you put on or you don't. And just remember, the stuff, what you want to do, the people. I mean, shooting with you and I, that was fun. And you just do it. You just relax, have a good time. And
how about
people
that?
Pick up on that.
How about that dinner we had?
Oh, that was great, man. That was awesome. Hey, listen, the whole experience was great. The venue was awesome. You guys took great care of us, and you outkicked your coverage for sure. It was way better than we deserved, but I'll take it. And I had a great time. It was really, really fun.
Let's take our break right here. This is Fade to Black. Our guest tonight, Scott Wolter. When we come back, we're going to continue all of this. When we come back after the short break, let's get into some secrets. Let's discuss some stuff. Enough of the behind the scenes. Into the Vortex, Season 1, Episode 1 is airing now. Click on the link below. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. We'll be right back after this short break. Stay with us.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network.
Your 1 million gigawatt paranormal powerhouse, KUNX-DB, VX.
I'll be the host and MC once again this year for the 2023 Conscious Life Expo, February 10th through the 13th at the LAX Hilton in Los Angeles, California. This is a 4-day live event featuring hundreds of speakers, exhibitors, and not-to-miss special events. Check this out. Linda Moulton Howe, Bashar, Deborah King, Daniel Sheehan, George Norrie, David Wolf, Sean Stone, Danny Brinkley, Susan Slaughter, the Leo King, David Palmer, Scott Wolter, and another 200 inspirational speakers. Special events include a disclosure lunch with me, Expo's Got Talent, hosted by me, a seance with Susan Slaughter, the George Norrie Forum, And the Leo King is going to DJ at a dance party. Over 200 exhibitors, over 200 speakers. It's the biggest event of the year. Tickets are on sale now at ConsciousLifeExpo.com. For everything you need, info, tickets, schedule, and speakers, please visit ConsciousLifeExpo.com. Go back, Lee Tappy.
This is Billy Carson, founder and CEO of ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. ForbiddenKnowledge.tv is the fastest growing and one of the most watched networks in the world. And I would like to personally invite you to check out our expanding library of TV, film, lectures, and special presentations. ForbiddenKnowledge.tv has over 6,000 videos covering lost history, health, UFOs, spirituality, and our future. We are committed to our community, and with my personal invitation, you can right now get your own free 30-day membership at ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. Your own library of information starts today at ForbiddenKnowledge.tv.
Because you never got that pony you always wanted. Damn it. Jimmy Church and Fade to Black on the Game Changer Network.
Listen, I know, and you know, that you've always wanted your first crystal skull. Or maybe you're a collector just like me, but you just don't know where to go to find the real thing. Then I met Carolyn Ford over at EinsteinTheCrystalSkull.com. Carolyn is the guardian of Einstein, one of the most respected ancient crystal skulls in the world. All of her unique skulls have been imprinted sitting with Einstein in his sacred lodge and are carved from the finest gemstone and materials. Imprinting is the process of receiving the ancient wisdom from the master skull or master computer. Einstein, the ancient crystal skull. To see Carolyn's current collection of crystal skulls, just visit her store at EinsteinTheCrystalSkull.com or click on the banner over on our site. Don't forget to use the promo code Jimmy at checkout to receive 10% off of your order today. That's promo code Jimmy. Finding your first or next crystal skull is easy. Just visit EinsteinTheCrystalSkull.com.
Hello, I'm Katie, and you're listening to my main man, Jimmy Church, on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Ray Hobbs here, repping the X, and you're locked on to Fade to Black with my homie Jimmy Church. Powered by the Fader Dots and the UnXNetwork.com.
This is Toby Kebbell. You're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com. Don't hurt me, Jimmy. I'm only little.
Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier, and this is Ari Gold. We're the Honey Brothers. We're also the Honey Brothers. Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier, and I'm Ari Gold. We're the Honey Brothers, and you're listening to Jimmy Church. The Revolution.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and you can become an official Fadernaut by just going to our membership section at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Hello, this is Serena Wright Taylor from Conscious Life Expo, and you're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church, who holds the Lucky Pony record for the best astrological chart since 1963. True story.
This is Micah Hanks of the Gralien Report, and you're listening to Jimmy Church on Fade to Black.
All right. Welcome back, Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Scott Wolter is with us. Scott was a guest. Season 1, Into the Vortex. And I'm not sure when his episode is going to premiere, but today, episode 1 did premiere, and it is up and available now. And Scott, when we discuss these artifacts, and I want to put the Kensington Rune stone to the side for a second, but for you, out of all of what is the one piece of evidence in the United States that has been publicly revealed that supports lost history?
Man, that's a tough one. I mean, obviously the rune stone is right up there.
Right.
The Tucson lead artifacts are amazing. The Bat Creek stone is incredible. The Spirit Pond rune stones are ridiculous. I recently looked at the Overton stone, which is up in Nova Scotia. But if I had to pick one, it would be the Newport Tower in Newport, Rhode Island. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'm going Bat Creek.
Bat Creek is
messes with my head. Yeah.
It does. Well, the one thing about that is the Bat Creek stone. There it is. That was pulled out of a native burial mound, a Cherokee in Cherokee, what is Cherokee territory now, in 1889. And it was published in 1894 by the Smithsonian Institution. And the truth of the matter is, Jim, when they saw this inscription, they thought it was Paleo-Cherokee, some type of Paleo-Cherokee language, which they found out later they didn't have a written language. Certainly not going back this far. And then what happened is in the 1960s, a woman named Henrietta Mertz was in the Smithsonian, and she found the Bat Creek box, and she took this stone and she flipped it around and she showed it to a Semitic scholar, and he said, "That's not Paleo-Cherokee, that's Paleo-Hebrew."
Right.
First century Paleo-Hebrew. But that in itself is ridiculous, right? It's like, what? First century Hebrews in North America? But what I thought was even more incredible was the reaction of the Smithsonian Institution. Now, this is supposed to be our nation's museum, right? And when something like this shows up, and all of a sudden you have, the top Semitic scholar in the world at that time, 1970, that says this is Paleo-Hebrew, you would think that our nation's museum would go, well, wait a minute. This is incredible. We need to look into this. We need to take it seriously. But that's not what happened. They decided that, this doesn't fit the narrative that we want people to believe. The Chris was here first, BS. We can't have this. So they did everything they could to push it down, to make it go away. And they're doing it to this day. And so I'm with you, man. But I'll tell you what. If they screwed up on this, and remember, Squire and Davis started digging in Native American mounds, and then the Smithsonian, expanded and got other field agents digging up all these mounds. What else did they find that they tucked away? Remember, this one they screwed up on. If they would have known it was Paleo-Hebrew from the get-go, do you think that it would ever have seen the light of day? Hell no.
No. And most people can't wrap their head around what first century is.
It's called 2,000 years ago is what it is.
2,000 years, 1,500 years before, allegedly, right?
Yeah.
Go with the dogma.
Yeah.
Anybody arriving here in North America. Now, today we understand that it's clearly not the case, but that's a whole nother thing if we're talking 2,000 years ago.
Yeah.
What about, can I ask you this? I know that we've talked about this before. There's a missing part of this stone. There's another, there's other stuff that was going here, right?
There appears to be, yes. That's a good observation.
Did nothing ever surfaced? Any rumors about that?
No. In fact, I've read the notes very carefully. I published a lot of the notes in my Akhenaten book that the field agent John Emmert wrote when he excavated that mound. And I have to tell you, he did a hell of a good job. He took copious notes. But here's something else that's interesting. Not only, and you got to remember something, that artifact was found inside a sacred bundle that was behind the skull of the one person of 9 bodies that were in this mound, the only one with its head to the south, which is interesting because that's consistent with the Essene, the first century Hebrews, Jesus and Mary Magdalene and John the Baptist. Their sect had that same burial practice where they buried the deceased with their heads to the south. So what does that mean? That's another piece of evidence that most people are not aware of that's consistent with this thing being absolutely authentic and genuine. And it also begs the question, who is this dude, right? Who is this person that's buried in this mound that has this amazing stone under their skull? Was it somebody that came over from the old world and died here? Was it somebody that came over here and taught an indigenous person who died and it's that skull? Did somebody go over and bring them back? I mean, there's all kinds of questions here, but it clearly proves to me that the Hebrews were here, or their influence was here, going all the way back to the time of Jesus, Mary, and the rest of the Essene.
What is inscribed here in this ancient Hebrew? What is actually said?
Well,
what's the translation?
The translation that I understand is it says "for the Judeans," and there might be more to that inscription, but my understanding is it says "for the Jews," for the Judeans.
And the burial mound, it's an indigenous burial mound.
It is. It was actually part of 3 mounds, a complex of 3 they call the Bat Creek complex. And this was in mound number 3. And, when John Emmert did the excavation, I didn't finish this point, but in addition to the other artifacts that we're not talking about that were found, which included 2 copper bracelets, a bone awl for punching holes in leather, and some red ochre stones for face paint, but he also collected the lower jaw of the individual, and that has gone missing. And I think this is my own speculation, but I think the reason that it went missing is because once they figured out that this thing was not what they thought it was, they sure as hell aren't going to let anybody do any DNA or C14 testing on these human remains. And that begs the question, where are they? Now, the Smithsonian Institution, when I asked them, said, well, they've been misplaced. Decades ago, things weren't cataloged as well as they are now, and blah, blah, blah. And just, shut the hell up. That's all BS. They made them disappear. And who knows what else they'd made disappear. It's, I don't trust them. I don't trust them.
Well, I don't think anybody does at this point. But let me ask you two questions. First one, okay, so if this is an early form of Hebrew dated to the 1st century AD, how did it get here and when?
Well, that's a great question. But, Jim, let's put it this way. Let's just do this for a second. Let's set the Bat Creek stone aside for just a second. If whoever came here, or whatever the scenario was that led this Paleo-Hebrew scription to end up in a Native American burial mound in North America, you would think that there should be some other artifacts. This can't be just some dude who's, paddled across in a canoe by himself, right? Well, the answer to that question is there are other artifacts. You can look up the Newark Holy Stones. There are at least 2 more stones that have Hebrew carvings on them. And right now I'm working on a huge project that is certainly going to end up in a book and probably on, a television or cable program at some point. We're talking with people right now, but this whole story about the Cremona document is absolutely insane. Now, I have published part of the story. A couple of other people have written about it, but essentially the story is that in the late 12th century, a flotilla of 6 Templar ships headed by a knight by the name of Sir Ralph de Sudley came over here to North America in the late 12th century to recover scrolls that date back to the 1st century and back as far as we think 500 BC that had been hidden over here in North America.
Stop right there. Okay, because the dating is the same. These scrolls, are they from Jerusalem? Are they Hebrew? Where's their origin?
The basic story is that when the Romans attacked the Jews in Jerusalem, in the Holy Land, they fled, right? That's the diaspora. That's when everybody took off. The question is, where did they go? Some of those people we think came over here. Now, when you look at it historically, you have an event that certainly motivated people to get the heck out of Dodge or get out of Jerusalem, right? And we don't know where they went. I'm not suggesting that they all came over to America, but they had material that other people wanted. Clearly they did. And they brought them over here. Now, when did they bring them over? We don't know. But the documents that were recovered, because de Sudley recovered the documents and brought them back to Europe, and there's a detailed list. In fact, I was just writing about them in the book today, which includes the Gospel of Mary, the marriage document of James, the brother of Jesus's daughter, Esther, the marriage between her and her husband, and the marriage document of Jesus and Mary Magdalene.
Now, okay, so if that's 12th century when looking for these first,
they were recovered.
Right. Okay, so that's what but for anything, what transoceanic culture? It's one thing to be a Phoenician or an Egyptian, cruising around, the shorelines of the Mediterranean. It's a whole other thing to exit the Straits of Gibraltar and head out across the Atlantic. That's a whole nother type of oceanic voyage.
True.
Did the Phoenicians have that ability to cross the Atlantic at year zero?
The answer is there's no doubt in my mind. No doubt at all, because the evidence is all over this continent. And if the evidence is here that they were doing it going back that far and farther, then obviously they had the technology, right? And it's, I got to tell you, I've talked to people, I've interviewed people. We've had people on on America Unearthed that talked about actually sailing in the North Atlantic. Now, there are other routes that will take you to South America and to the lower part of North America, but the northern route is really not that difficult. I mean, having said that, there's weather. People died all the time on the open ocean, and it's nothing to screw around with. But what I've been told is that you could leave Scotland, right? You can go to the Orkneys, the Shetlands, the Faroes, Rockall, Iceland, Greenland, Baffin Island, Newfoundland, and Nova Scotia, and you can get halfway across and you're looking behind, you can see where you left, and you get to a point where you can see where you're going. In other words, you can be in sight of land.
Open ocean. Yeah, you're not on the open ocean. Right. You're not navigating with the stars.
Right. Now, that's if it's clear, of course, and it's not going to be clear all the time. But theoretically, you could make that voyage to North America from Europe, and you wouldn't be, you wouldn't lose sight of land the entire voyage.
Okay. Now I said the Phoenicians. The Phoenicians predated the
Hebrews. Yeah.
All of that by quite a few centuries. The problem that I have with the Egyptian part of this play is that it's one thing to cruise up and down the Nile River, right? Because you've got currents. You don't have to be a sailor. You just got to be able to keep your boat from hitting the shore, right? You just keep it in the middle.
Oh yeah, that's easy to say, pal. Let me tell you, it's a lot tougher on the, even navigating on lakes and rivers. You have to really know what you're doing. You have to be very careful. It's dangerous,
What I'm saying is that the Nile currents, which go from south to north, right, and empty in the Mediterranean, you don't have to sail. You're just pointing your boat. You're going with the current of the river. Coming back and heading south, well, now you're going against the current, so you got to crank up a sail and stuff. But you're only navigating the Nile River. You don't have to, right? You're not going to go left or right. You're just always going to go straight, right? Okay, that's one thing. That's why getting out into the Mediterranean, I think the Egyptians really messed around with that a whole lot. And at least that's what the dogma will say. But then we have issues with Australia. We have issues here in the United States that are showing Egyptian contact, right? So is it possible that the Egyptians and the Phoenicians, maybe even the Greeks, possibly the Romans, were they all at that point transoceanic cultures at around year zero, 500 BC to year zero?
Well, I mean, I think the answer is some or all of them had to have, because we see the evidence that they came here, right?
Right.
And, you know, the other thing is that a lack of evidence is proof of nothing, right? It doesn't prove, just because we don't have, you know, documents or ledgers that talk about, you know, 2,000 years ago, 2,500 years ago, them coming over here. But you got to remember something. If you could come over to North or South America or Central America for that matter, and you were able to get furs, precious metals, wood, all kinds of resources, plants, food, drugs. I mean, you know, it was just a paradise of riches over here. And if you had a way to get over here and you were able to get these resources that you couldn't get back in you know, where you came from, and then you bring this stuff, people are going to pay you all kinds of money. It goes back to that old adage. Are you going to tell somebody your best fishing spot or your favorite hunting spot that you always get a buck? Hell no, you're going to keep your mouth shut. So this would have been very sacred information and very secret information. And the fact that we don't have a lot of records about it isn't, I think it should be expected, right? That's what I think.
I mean, let me give you some obvious things. When people bring up that point, and that the lack of records then therefore supports that it didn't happen, right? This is where I call BS.
Yeah.
Let me give you some obvious stuff. Just with Egypt, where we're going back 5,000 years, every single, and I mean this, every single temple site, including, of course, the Great Pyramid in Giza and everything, every single temple site, of which there are hundreds all over Egypt, there is not one document supporting how it was done, the engineering, or anything. There isn't. It doesn't exist for anything. So what? Are you telling me that they didn't get built?
Jim, you just made the same point, and it's a brilliant point, right? It's like, okay, here's this pyramid here, but we don't have any record of who built it. We don't know when they built it. We don't know how they built it. So it can't be, right? I mean, That's what they're saying when they look at things like Bat Creek Stone, Rune Stone, the Tower, all this stuff that we have over here. There's nothing to see here, folks, because we can't figure it out. And that's really what's going on, okay? A lot of these academics that I have dealt with are just chicken. They just give up. You know what? There's no record here. We can't do it the way that we want to do it. And we're not going to be able to reach a consensus because none of us can figure it out. So it can't be. And I mean, to me, this is, I don't even know how to describe it without using colorful language, but it's just frankly BS. And, you know, many of these people that I interact with, and I don't want to, you know, make it sound like, you know, academia is completely fraudulent. It's not. It's wonderful. And all these disciplines are legitimate disciplines. But these are people that are coming after me when I talk about these artifacts and about the fact that this history happened. And they say to me that you're not being scientific. I run a lab, okay?
Right.
I'm a geologist, a forensic geologist. I've done a lot of pretty interesting work, but I'm talking about people that come from disciplines like history, anthropology, no disrespect, but archaeology is a soft science. It's not a hard science. You know, language, runology, these are humanities disciplines, okay? They're not hard science. So why are they telling me, somebody who runs a lab and does science all day, every day, that I don't know what I'm doing? Seriously?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Well,
really?
I
find it incredible, really. And they're the ones that are, Wikipedia defers to them. See, I mean, it's.
Here's the thing, including the Kensington Rune stone, which is one of the most studied artifacts ever, right? I mean, that thing, Northern Europe, different countries here, that thing has been completely studied. But anything else that is some out of place artifact, it's a hoax. Somebody made it. It's this. It's that. Yeah. It's crazy to me how if you look just like the Back Creek stone or Kensington, if you look at that, tell me who had the knowledge in 1850 to carve those letters, the knowledge of the language, the knowledge of who. We didn't crack hieroglyphics in Egypt until 1830.
Until the Rosetta Stone was
found. The Rosetta Stone, 1830. Yeah. So don't tell me that somebody knew ancient Hebrew, from the first century, that could just crank this stuff out. No. And the same thing with the Kensington Rune stone.
Yeah. Well, you know what, Jim? I could teach a college course just on the Kensington Rune stone, and not just on the geology, on the inscription, the runes, the dialect, the grammar, the dating, the history, the Templars, what was going on in 1898 when it was found. But you can also talk about the cultural impact, about the academic situation, through time. And, you said something that sort of made me chuckle to myself. You said the Kensington Rune stone is one of the most studied artifacts. And the truth of the matter is, it has not been studied, because what happened is most of these academics that looked at it did not understand what they were looking at. They couldn't figure out what the runes were. And so instead of admitting that and saying, you know what, there's stuff on here that we just don't know, they couldn't do it. So what do they do is they make it go away. They don't want to run the risk of looking like they're not the smartest person in the room. Right. And so they claim it's a hoax, and that's an easy way out. And I just find that to be it's a chicken, what way to go, and it's just not acceptable. But here's the thing, The Rock told me that it was authentic, right? I listened to The Rock because I trust rocks. Rocks don't care. Rocks don't have agendas. They don't have egos. They just are. I don't trust some people. And once The Rock told me it was real, then all the other things that go with it, like somebody carved it, they came from some place, and they came here for some reason. These things all have got to be true. And over the course of all these years, we have answered all those questions, and it all fits beautifully. And that's when you've reached the right conclusion. But why is it that academia doesn't seem interested? They don't seem to care. And it's not about proving them wrong. Look, we all make mistakes. I make mistakes. The history behind this and the truth is more important than your fragile ego. So put it aside and let's have a party, because if you wake up and you realize what is at stake here, you could make your whole career, right?
Yeah, I've got to take a break, so let's get that in. Our guest tonight, the one and only Scott Wolter. Scott, don't play. We're going to continue right after this short break. This is Fade to Black. Stay with us.
Way out here, we listen to Jimmy Church.
You're listening to Fade to Black.
You're listening to Jimmy Church and Fade to Black on the X.
¿Qué tal, mis amigos? Yo soy Mario Carson, el tiburón, y los invito para que escuchen a mi buen amigo Jimmy Church Radio. ¡Claro que sí!
The Believer is the chilling true story of Dr. John Mack, a renowned Harvard psychiatrist and Pulitzer Prize winner.
This is an outreach program from the cosmos to the consciously impaired.
He risked it all to investigate human encounters with aliens. The Believer, Alien Encounters, Hard Science, and the Passion of John Mack. Written by award-winning former New York Times journalist and author Ralph Blumenthal. Now available in paperback from High Road Books.
Introducing the Game Changer blend from River Moon Coffee that delivers a customized blend made specifically for the Fadernauts. If the game is rigged, change the game. It's a bolder cup with some bite. Game Changer is the coffee of choice for those that prefer an organic dark roast that is slightly lighter and milder, but it's still dark. With wild notes of pecans and chocolate with a rich, balanced, full-bodied cup that is roasted to perfection for a great coffee to start your day, as an after-dinner coffee or anywhere in between. Artisan, small batch roasted to perfection. USDA certified organic, all River Moon coffee is freshly roasted and packaged in the USA. Just go to rivermooncoffee.com or click on the banners over on our site and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. rivermooncoffee.com. Do you want to be an official Fadernaut? Of course you do. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black. Just go to our membership section at jimmychurchradio.com. Fadernauts, when you think about the future of our country and where we're headed, do you wonder about the food supply? I do. Disruptions in the food supply chain could be disastrous, and they usually occur with little warning. That's why the smartest thing you can do today is to stockpile emergency food, water, and other essentials. I personally recommend My Patriot Supply. They're the nation's largest emergency preparedness company, serving millions of customers for more than a decade. In fact, they're the only source my family trusts for our preparedness plan. You should too. Right now, save 20% off a full 4-week supply of delicious meals that provide 2,000 calories a day. Saving 20% helps too, doesn't it? Especially now. So go to preparewithjimmy.com and get ready. That's preparewithjimmy.com. There's no time to lose. Do it now.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
You listen to us, and we listen to you. And so does the CIA.
Hi, I'm Ray Sobbs, and I'm here to tell you about something I really think you're going to like. The UNX Network is a part of a larger group called UNX Media, and one of the things we offer is the quarterly UNX magazine, which is available both in print and digital formats. This amazing magazine covers all aspects of the unexplained and makes for a great coffee table periodical that is certain to spark enlightening conversations in your living rooms. We invite you to check out the latest digital issue for free. Just go to unxnetwork.com/membership and fill out your free membership with your name and email and become a new free member. The new summer issue is now available, and the theme is Time Anomalies, which includes a feature article written by our managing editor, Lee Spiegel. Just go to unxnetwork.com/memberships. That's unxnetwork.com/memberships and get your free e-copy of the UNX magazine today.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Oi, oi, I'm Reese Evans. You're listening to Jimmy Church. This is Revolution. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution is on radio. Ciao.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Scott Wolter is here, helping me celebrate because season 1 of Into the Vortex premiered today. All right, so click on the link below. Go and check it out. I want to hear from everybody. I want to know what you guys think about this. Now, Scott and I were just talking before the break about some of these artifacts from around North America that, everybody wants to dismiss it as a hoax. And I keep bringing up the Kensington Rune stone for a lot of different reasons. But Scott, when I look at it, I don't understand. Here, let me pull this up. I want everybody to just take a quick look at. This is what we're talking. This is straight from Wikipedia, so it's not any secret photograph or anything. But when you look at this now, I want everybody to understand that this was discovered in 1898. 1898. How can somebody, there's no internet, right? You're not going to the library, and so to go and hoax something like this, we're talking about 1898, Scott. It just doesn't feel right to me.
Well, the fact of the matter is there was nobody walking on the planet at that time that could have carved that inscription. And Jim, I got to tell you a funny story. I had, I've done a lot of radio shows. I mean, obviously I've you and I have talked many times, and I've probably said the same thing on your show where I said, look, I will be happy to debate anybody, any academic, anybody with knowledge. It doesn't matter to me. I will debate you on the Kensington Rune stone. And I have not had anybody take me up until recently. There was a guy on Twitter who he said, well, Scott, I'll take you on. I'm a medievalist and I work with manuscripts, and let's give it a shot. So he asked me a question. The very first question he asked me is, what is the most powerful evidence about the runestone that supports its authenticity? And I brought up a rare rune called the dotted R, which was unknown to modern scholars until 1935. They knew nothing about it until there were 2 artifacts that were found in Sweden that year. One was a bone that had a runic inscription carved on it. Another one was a grave slab that was actually discovered when they were remodeling an old church and they were moving the runes around, and they found this grave slab that had 2 dotted R's on it. And there were 2 on that bone. So there were 4 examples that were found in 1935, and it was published in 1938. Now, remember, prior to that time, nobody understood anything. They didn't know about this rune. But guess what? It turns out it's a rare medieval rune, and it shows up on the Kensington Runestone in 1898. Now, if nobody knew about it prior to that or after that, how would somebody know? Yet there it is, right? That little dot in the upper loop of the R proves it's a medieval artifact all by itself. And that debate I was having with this manuscript expert was over.
I'm looking at it here. Here's the other thing about this. And this is 1898. I don't know how many hook X's are on the front.
There are a total of 22 hooked X's in the inscription. And
now, and the R that you're talking about,
Yep.
let me pull it up.
It's right there. It's on line 6.
Yep.
Right where your cursor is.
Yep.
And it's over here. Not there. You go down to the next row and over to the left.
Okay.
There you go. Okay, you see that little dot in the upper loop of the R?
Yep.
You see that?
Yep.
Now, it's very shallow. The reason it's shallow is because if you go up to line 1.
Well, here it is here. There's
right.
another one right
There's
there.
one between the legs, actually. But go to line 1. Go to line 1. Right there, up at the top.
Right
now,
here.
You see those 2 R's right there?
Uh-huh.
You see the second one?
Yep.
You see the big hole up at the top?
Yep.
Okay. What happened was the carver wanted to make a dotted R in that second R. And what happened is he hit it too hard and he blew out that plateau of rock. Okay. Then you get down here to line 5 where you were before. Okay. See those 2 R's?
Yep.
That's also a dotted R or a palatal R technically. And instead he put the dot between the legs.
Right. It's right here.
Yep. But then he went to line 6. He said, no, I don't want to do that. I want to go and put it up here. So he took his chisel and he hit it softer so he wouldn't blow out the plateau of rock. The point is that in the 14th century, the language was coalescing and there were different sounds that were being made. And there was a different way of saying the R sound. It's called a palatal R. And to indicate that, they put a dot in the rune. And again, this was unknown to modern scholars until 1935 when they found 4 examples of it, which begs the question, how did somebody know about it in 1898? It's impossible. And that's it. That's debate's over.
Now, the translation, again, I just find this fascinating, is basically this. 8 Gotalanders and 22 Northmen on this exploration journey from Vinland, far to the west. We had a camp by 2 shelters, 1 day's journey north from this stone. We were fishing one day. After we came home, found 10 men, red from blood and dead. Ave Maria, save from evil. Is this accurate?
No, it's not. The first phrase is 8 Gotlanders and 22 Northmen on this acquisition business / taking up land from Vinland far to the west. You're looking at an old translation. The other thing that's not correct is when you said there were 10 men red from blood and dead. The word is not dead. The word is death. And that may not be a big difference, but the fact is the word is actually death and not dead. And, you can do what you want with it, but that first mistake from the translation that you have is really important. Journey of exploration. No, right. They were claiming land, acquisition business, taking up land.
And
there's a reason why that changed.
Which would indicate that this is a marker of territory,
a land claim.
Right, a land claim, not just some chat about a campsite.
No, and this is one of the things that I've argued for a long time. I mean, think about it logically. Why would a group of Europeans, the Templars in this case, come all the way over halfway across the continent and do this? Well, there's a reason, right? They did it for a compelling reason. They came to the geographic center of the continent, to a place along the continental divide. And it just so happens in the 14th century, both the French, I will remind people that the headquarters of the Templars in the 14th century was Paris, France. Well, it was up until 1307. This is just a few decades after the Templars were put down. And the Dutch had a land claim practice at the time, where if you could prove that you navigated to the headwaters of a river system and placed a land claim stone in the ground, often a tin plaque in a tree for redundancy, you could lay claim to the entire river system and all the land associated with it, right? So at Kensington, which is on the north-south continental divide, and that divide goes right down to Browns Valley. If you look at the state of Minnesota on the western border, you see how there's a little bump, kind of like that bump on your heel, on your ankle. That westernmost point on the bump is called Browns Valley. The rivers all flow to the north from there, and on the south, they on the bottom side, they flow to the south. So theoretically, at Kensington, you could lay claim to the Red River Hudson Bay watershed to the north, the Minnesota, Mississippi watershed all the way to the Gulf, which is like half the continent. So when you think about it in that context, and why I'm the first person to bring this thing up, I don't know. I'm not that smart. I just know that they did it for a compelling reason, and claiming land, trying to establish a new place to live after you had just been driven out of Europe, arrested, tortured, and burned. That makes sense. It's logical. It fits. And there's all kinds of other reasons that supports why this was the Templars. So why can't historians accept this story? I'll tell you why. Because the minute you start to accept that the runestone is real, then all of a sudden you got to go back and take a look at all these other artifacts that have been dismissed, and you completely rewrite the narrative. But in addition to that, you trigger a series of dominoes that begin to fall, and they go to very inconvenient places for people like the Roman Catholic Church.
Right.
Well, believe you me, they have a vested interest in making sure that this truth is never revealed. But you know what? It's too freaking late, pal. Because people like you give us a platform to get the truth out there. And so thank you very much.
Well, because, I'm a little pissed off. And all I'm trying to do is get the answers to some very big questions.
Right on, brother.
And that's what I'm doing. But here's on the side, the side has a date of 1362. Is that accurate?
1362. Yep. What about it?
But here's the thing. You just brought up the Templars in the 14th century, right? And we've got a date on the side that I don't think is in dispute, that it's 1362. So here's my question. Was that in the ground there in Minnesota since 1362?
Absolutely. In fact, the weathering is consistent with that. And what I bet happened was, and we have some information that I really can't talk about yet that's very, very specific to the runestone.
No. Don't do that on the show, Scott.
Hey, we got to save it for the next episode, man. Come on. But I'll just say this. We know who did it. We know when they left Europe.
What you know who made the Kensington Rune stone?
Yep. And in fact, we have a name. We think we know who actually crafted the inscription. Whether he carved it or not, I'm not sure, but we actually have a name. And his name is Father Richards.
Father Richards. And what country was he from?
Well, he would have been educated on Gotland, because the 8 Gotlanders are people that are from Gotland. And it just so happens that when I went over to Sweden 5 times, when I was investigating the runes, the dialect, the grammar, the dating, all the stuff that is within the inscription, so I could understand it, all the evidence, all the stuff that the scholars said didn't exist, did exist. And I found pretty much everything on the island of Gotland. Now some people may say, wait a minute, Scott, you're not a runologist. How come some dopey guy come over from the United States and go in their backyard and find something that the scholars missed, right? That's a fair question, and it doesn't seem to make sense. But the truth of the matter is that when I went over there to Gotland, this was the last place that the Scandinavian scholars studied the runic inscriptions on that island. They studied them all over Sweden and Norway and everywhere else, but Gotland was the last place. And in the early 2000s is when they published their findings of these grave slabs, hundreds of grave slabs. And I was, myself and Dick Nielsen were the first ones to look at those inscriptions in context with the Kensington Runestone. The other scholars just hadn't gotten around to it. But I knew, because the rock told me it was real, that evidence had to be there. And that's where it was. And what can I tell you? Logic, really runs the show. It told me it was there. I just had to go look for it. These guys all thought it was a fake, so they sat on their fannies and didn't do anything, and they missed out. What can I tell you?
Now, okay, let's talk about Gotland for a second, because the inscription says, the translation, Vinland. Now we have Gotland. It says Gotlanders. And so for everybody to understand, here's North America here. Gotland, the other side of the earth. That's a long ways away, man. And it's right in between Denmark, Finland, Sweden, and Norway.
Right.
Right in the middle of everything. You would have to navigate out of there and then out into the Atlantic. That's a heck of a journey of itself.
Now, the guys were from Gotland. It doesn't mean that that's where the ship took off from. In fact, that's not true. The ship left Norway in 1358. That we know.
Okay, so, let's back up. Where's Vinland? What's Vinland?
That's a great question. Now, remember I talked about the Spirit Pond runestones?
Yes.
They refer to Vinland as well. They're dated 1401 and 1402 using the same dating method that's found on the Kensington Runestone. The hooked X is all over the Spirit Pond runestone. So it's the same party. It's the same Templars, right? Maybe not the exact same party. It's not the same author, we don't think, but he's using the same alphabet, the same dating method, and he references Vinland. And on that stone, it's called the Spirit Pond Map Stone. It has a map of Spirit Pond, which is right at the mouth of the Kennebec River, which is up in Maine. And what it says is Vinland takes 2 days with an arrow pointing to the right. Now, what a lot of people don't understand, they would say, well, if you go to the right, you're going to start heading back towards Europe. No. What they don't understand is most medieval maps had east at the top and north in what should be the west, right? Because Jerusalem was the center of the world and east was always at the top. But if you rotate it 90 degrees, that arrow goes from pointing, east to south. And it says Vinland takes 2 days. 2 days sail from the mouth of the Kennebec River in Maine puts you right in the Cape Cod, Narragansett Bay, where the greatest harbor on the entire East Coast is, Narragansett Bay. And you know what's in that bay? The Inhoque Signal Vinci stone, the Narragansett Rune stone, the AVM stone, which people don't even know about yet because we haven't told them, and the Newport Tower.
Right.
Funny. So Vinland, I think, that's being referenced on Spirit Pond and the Kensington stone is actually ground zero, which is the Newport Tower in Narragansett Bay, which is now Rhode Island. That's where Vinland is.
Where does the name Vinland come from?
Well, the Vikings used the term Vinland, Vineland, right? And grapes grow out on Cape Cod and right in that area. And so it's Vineland. That's what it means.
Huh.
Right there. So look, dude, it's becoming more and more obvious. And when all the stuff that we have comes out, it's done. Okay. And it completely rewrites the narrative of North America. But more important than that, the Templars were the ones that set the table, that brought the treasures over here, buried them in multiple places, and left them for someday. They formed a strategic alliance with the indigenous people of this continent who practice Masonic ritual. Yes, Native Americans practice Masonic ritual. In the Algonquin tribes, it's called the Medewan. Okay? The Templars practice Freemasonry. Now, how the hell do you think that they got all the way to Minnesota, right? They didn't fight their way to Kensington. They traveled with their indigenous brothers. I know that's what they call them because the indigenous people in the Medewan sweats that I've been in still call the Templars their blood brothers to this day. Which begs another question, Jim. Why is it these scholars, these anthropologists, these historians, these so-called smart people that are quick to pass judgment on things like the runestone, why is it that they haven't reached out to the native people on this continent? And I hate to break it to you, you Columbus supporters, but he never set foot on the country that we now call America that already had millions of people living here. He didn't discover crap.
Right.
So what about them?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
I do.
Think about that, Jim. Why am I the first person to bring this up?
Well, here's my reaction to that, and I've talked about this so much on the show with you and others. It's very simple to me. I don't get it, but North America and the native indigenous cultures here are not of any interest to historians. And I don't understand that. Chaco Canyon, right?
Oh, man.
We have some of the greatest stuff here in North America.
Insane. It's amazing.
And I love Egypt, man. And Greece is great. And there's stuff all over, Machu Picchu. I get that. But right here in North America, why is the history here the redheaded stepchild?
I don't get it. Hey, here's something I'll talk to people about this, and I will tell them what I'm about to say, and they don't believe me. In North America, at Cahokia, there is an earthen pyramid that has a larger footprint than the Great Pyramid of Giza. In North America, on just the east side of the river, a little bit north of St. Louis. And people go, what? Now, why is it that nobody knows about that? Everybody knows about the pyramids in Egypt, right? We got one bigger over here. Why don't people know about that? Well, because the natives built it, and so therefore it can't be interesting and cool. And it's not important. I mean, give me a break.
When I was in 8th grade, so let's push this back. That would have been 1976, like right in there. Okay. My Indiana history teacher was telling us about the mounds in Indiana, right?
Yeah.
And then he went on to say, and he showed us some maps and some drawings about how many of these mound sites were surveyed, right? And then removed for farmland,
plowed over,
leveled, and it's just like this. But how could you? And it was something that was very tragic. I wish I remembered his name. I'm sure he's not around anymore, but that he really wanted us to know about this, and he would show us these the drawings that they made of the mounds.
Squire and Davis did those drawings you're talking about.
And then later, the same piece of land, drawings, everything's gone. It's farmland.
Yeah. In fact, and I think it's in Ohio, but Squire and Davis mapped one location of mounds, and there's a 9-candled menorah in mounds.
Oh, I can believe it.
No, there is. I mean,
but
if you look it up, if you Google menorah-shaped earthen mounds, it'll come right up. That was bulldozed over too.
Indiana, Ohio, Kentucky, Tennessee, Wisconsin, Illinois, mounds Missouri, everywhere. They're all gone.
They're all gone. And you know what? I'll tell you something a lot of people don't know is we have earthen mounds all across the continent, right? They start from the West Coast. A lot of those are gone, but they're there. And they go all the way to the East Coast. And what a lot of people don't know is these mounds mirror what's happening up in the heavens. And the zodiacal belt that goes around the earth is on the ground too.
Sure it is.
Built mounds to mimic the constellations in the heavens. Think about that. That's amazing. And
that is amazing. And nobody wants to talk about it. I got to take a break. Let's get it in. This is Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church, tonight. The one and only Scott Wolter is with us. Yeah, today premiered Into the Vortex. I'm very happy about that. Scott was one of my guests on season 1. More with Scott when we come back after this short break. Stay with us.
Hi everybody, this is Rob Halford, the Metal Guard on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Your 1 million gigawatt paranormal powerhouse, KUNX-DB, The X.
The Believer is the chilling true story of Dr. John Mack, a renowned Harvard psychiatrist and Pulitzer Prize winner.
This is an outreach program from the cosmos to the consciously impaired.
He risked it all to investigate human encounters with aliens. The Believer, Alien Encounters, Hard Science, and the Passion of John Mack. Written by award-winning former New York Times journalist and author Ralph Blumenthal. Now available in paperback from High Road Books.
Are you ready to read about true paranormal events? Unex Media publishes nonfiction books about UFOs, ghosts and haunted places, time anomalies, cryptid creatures, and more. Just like KUNX-DB Radio, it's all about unexplained phenomena. Visit www.unxmedia.com to see our list of great book titles by Debbie Ziegelmeyer, Gene Walker, Devin Listrom, Wayne Lawrence, Bill Spicer, and yours truly, Margie Kay. That's unxmedia.com.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and I only drink Fade to Black blend coffee from River Moon. Just click on the River Moon Coffee banner at jimmychurchradio.com. Promo code F2B Blend.
This is the only way forward.
This is Fade to Black. Make contact.
Ray Hobbs here, repping the X, and you're locked on to Fade to Black with my homie Jimmy Church. Powered by the Fader Dots and the UnXNetwork.com.
I'll be the host and MC once again this year for the 2023 Conscious Life Expo, February 10th through the 13th at the LAX Hilton in Los Angeles, California. This is a 4-day live event featuring hundreds of speakers, exhibitors, and not-to-miss special events. Check this out. Linda Moulton Howe, Bashar, Deborah King, Daniel Sheehan, George Norrie, David Wolf, Sean Stone, Danny Brinkley, Susan Slaughter, the Leo King, David Palmer, Scott Wolter, and another 200 inspirational speakers. Special events include a disclosure lunch with me, Expo's Got Talent, hosted by me, a seance with Susan Slaughter, the George Norrie Forum, and the Leo King is going to DJ at a dance party. Over 200 exhibitors, over 200 speakers. It's the biggest event of the year. Tickets are on sale now at ConsciousLifeExpo.com. For everything you need, info, tickets, schedule, and speakers, please visit ConsciousLifeExpo.com. Go back, Lee Tappy. When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roast it to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Yes, River Moon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today.
You want to know a secret? I love ponies. I really love ponies. I'm serious. I couldn't stay sane without ponies to brush.
Why fade to black? Because you never got that pony, damn it.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church tonight. Scott Wolter is with us. You know, we were talking about, well, you know, the thing is this. We're talking about the dating of things in history and you know, part of the dogma that we're taught. But I got to tell you something, Scott. I just got back from Egypt, and one of the things, and Robert Schoch is one of the best, and Randall Carlson, you know, one of the best, you know, our dear friends, and of course John Anthony West and things. And when you hear about, let me say this: when you go to Egypt and you put your eyeballs on this stuff all over the place, you realize right then that somebody is frigging lying and lying a lot. Okay, you do. But here's the thing. Let's back up. When Robert Schoch presented these ideas and his knowledge about the weathering of you know, rainwater in the Great Sphinx enclosure, right? And you hear about this, and you know, pushing this back to 10,500 BC. Well, that's 12,500 years ago. It's a long time, and that's way off of what we've been told. But here's the thing: when you go to Egypt and you find out a few things, one, that it rains in Cairo, you ready? 1 day a year. That's it. You can tell
day.
It's all dry, right? Okay, so that's number one. And number two, the last time that it did rain in Cairo, in Egypt, like this, was 12,000 years ago. All right. Now you go all over Egypt, man. You don't see any water erosion anywhere. You don't see it. There's no water. There's no rain. There isn't. You know, it doesn't exist. And you go down into the Sphinx enclosure, and I shot a lot of video. And you look up. You can. You're like, it's right there. How can we have that kind of denial and that kind of fight when you're looking at it? It is obviously really, really old. And you put your eyeballs on it, and what they are telling you and what you see are two different things.
Yeah.
And they just want to fight it, man.
Well, you know, it's, you know, Jim, I wish I had the answer for this problem, because I work in the professional field, right? And it's a completely different thing. I'm licensed. I have to re-up my license every 2 years. I have to do a certain amount of professional development hours. And when I do my work and I write a report and I reach my findings, I have to be prepared to defend those in a court of law under oath. And I'll tell you what, it can get really nasty when you're in court. And, you know, we've all seen, you know, courtroom programs, and we see all the drama that goes on and the arguing and the fighting and the lawyers getting really into these people on the witness stand. That happens. And it's happened to me. And I bark back at these people. But my point is that it's a high bar that we have to, you know, to achieve, to be able to be in this arena and be able to reach our findings and defend them. In the academic world, it's a lot different animal. Basically, my experience has been these people all look at something, they talk about it, and then they reach an agreement, right? They reach a consensus. I like to think that they get it right most of the time, but I don't know how the hell they could screw up so many of these artifacts that we've been talking about. The history that they represent is completely convoluted and wrong. And, and I'm the one that's here trying to provide assistance, really. I'm trying to help. I'm trying to do a good job for them, a professional job, a scientific job, and they don't seem to want it because it might not work for what they've already decided is the truth that we're supposed to accept. So I don't know what the answer is, frankly. But all I can say is, I'm not going to say something, especially as adamantly and forcefully as I do, unless I'm 100% right that I have the evidence to support it, that I could defend it in a court of law under oath, under the toughest, prick lawyer you want to put up. I'm ready to do that when it comes to these artifacts. And why isn't that compelling to academia? I don't understand.
Well, but Scott, here's the thing. The information now is flooding out. It's public. It's shareable. It's instantaneous. It's worldwide. 30 years ago, they were still able to control everything. Right. You can't control it now. You know how many people know about, the simple thing like Göbekli Tepe,
yeah,
all right, which until 1995, the only thing that was ever spoken about was 3000 BC.
Right.
That was the number, 3000 BC. Nothing before that. There's no conversation to have here. That's it. Well, now we know clearly that is not the case. That we have now pushed that back another 7, 8, 9, 10,000 years before Giza, before ancient Sumer, before Mesopotamia. Yeah. So the conversation has changed. They don't have control like they had before. And I think clearly that's the case. As we move forward here, the information is going to continue to come out. They may not want to reprint history books. They may not want to do it, but what choice do they have?
Why not? I mean, that is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. That means they have to change the history books. Well, for F's sake, then just change them.
Well,
my God, go ahead and republish them. The bottom line is get it right. I mean, what's the problem here? I don't get it.
Well, you have the church, you have the Bible, you have the Vatican, you have different belief systems, not only with the Vatican, but you've got China that comes into play. You've got Russia that comes into play. Different cultures around the world that have been projecting I keep saying dogma, but that's what it is. It's just
it is dogma.
Yeah,
that's the right word.
Yeah, and you keep repeating, and if this starts to blow out of the water, it's not in the best interest of some of the belief systems that are so ingrained.
Yeah.
Right?
The thing is, you make a good point that this information is getting out there, right? The media is projecting this. There's all kinds of platforms that are out there. I mean, people have all the answers right here, right? And so I think it makes it harder for these academics to sit in their little world and pontificate and publish their papers and control the narrative. And this is the history, and that's it. But instead of being more vocal, now that people are out there and they're pushing back a little bit, what I'm finding is they're just not saying anything. They've just gone dark. What are they going to do? They can't keep arguing a point that's not valid, right? So they don't say anything. And I'm not sure if that's good or bad. I mean, there comes a time to shut your mouth, but I think we need them to participate. We need them to weigh in. Frankly, I think what they need to do is listen and learn a little bit, because clearly they got it wrong. And I'm not necessarily here to try to rub their nose in it. Although, you know, some of the people I've interacted with sure deserve it.
Yes, certainly do. Yeah.
But I'd like to help them. I mean, I think we can bring something to the table that they don't have. And maybe they're sitting on stuff that would, you know, help us that we don't know about. It's called collaboration. And, you know, that's when things really get done. I got to tell you, you know, Dick Nielsen was a linguist, and he understood, you know, the 14th century language and the palatal R, the dialect, the grammar, all that stuff on the runestone better than anyone in the world. But it was the collaboration of us working together. The geological work that I did, the photo library that found all these mysterious dots and punch marks that the carver added intentionally, that eventually we think we figured out that these were hidden codes, a dating code, the Grail code, a confirmation codes. There was all kinds of stuff, but nobody ever saw them before because nobody ever looked carefully, right? But I found a lot of the physical features. He was the one that told me what they were. And in addition to the dotted R, which nobody had noticed prior to the work we did, there was something called the word har. The word har was the one piece of linguistic evidence that the scholars used for over a century to beat the runestone up with, because the word har is actually a modern Swedish word. But when I was doing my photo study, I took over 650 photographs under high angle and low angle reflected light to pull out the three-dimensionality of the inscription. And that's where I found all these marks. And every time I found a curious dot somewhere, or a little stroke, I put it in a separate folder. And when Dick got to this hooked X, I said there were 2 dots above it. And he said, "Are you sure about that?" I said, "I'm sure as hell. Those are 2 man-made dots." If you go back and you look at the literature, all the scholars, nobody saw those dots. But what was significant about those dots is it changed the word from har to hair. In English, it's have 10 men by the inland sea to look after our ships. Now it's there are 10 men by the inland sea to look after our ships.
Right. That's 2 different things.
Well, it's 2 different things, but what's important is hair is an old Swedish word. So now the one piece of evidence, the one modern word that was on the inscription is gone. They got nothing left. So let's have a party, man.
Yeah. I think that's a really good point. And if we start to, this is it's about this. All right, Atlantis. And I just want you to stay with me on this thought.
Go for it, man.
I mean, it used to be, Robert Schock says it so elegantly, right? It used to be aliens. If you were a professional scholar, you couldn't say aliens, right? Couldn't do it.
No, you were done. Your credibility was destroyed.
Now it's okay, right? It's like aliens are the cool thing to talk about. But the other thing is Atlantis. And the more that we push this dating back, and it keeps unfolding. Let me tell you something about Atlantis. 10,500 BC, that's a crucial number. But that number is just about in every culture on this planet for different reasons. 10,500 BC. You go to Abydos and you go to the historical text and you go to Edfu, and you start to look at these stories where Plato visiting Egypt hears about Atlantis, right? Here's the story. What's the date? It's 10,500. And now the independent research of Robert Schock is something else. That is weathering, and that's a geo situation, right? But
I'm a geologist. I get it.
Right. That's a geo situation. The 10,500, we're talking about astronomy, the end of the last ice age, Listen to Randall Carlson talk about this. And this number is significant for a lot of different reasons. But what else surfaces here? Atlantis. Now, there's going to be a point where academics out there are going to have to start to face the music on this one. Before, it was 3000 BC. Right? 3,000. Now we have Göbekli Tepe. We've got the Edfu and Abydos building text. We've got the Sphinx and the Sphinx enclosure. We've got astronomy. We've got all of Randall Carlson's research on this, and this number keeps popping back up. Atlantis may be
something happened, right?
Yeah,
something big happened, and there's a reason why that number keeps popping up, and. Going back to Atlantis for a second, I've talked to people about that. And, some people say that Atlantis is a place, a specific location. I talked to other people who say that Atlantis isn't a place at all. It's a high culture of humanoids that lived prior to that number that you're talking about.
10,500.
Yeah. BC, 12,500 BP before present.
Yes.
And so I personally think it was a high culture. I don't think it was a place. So the question is, who were these people? And how did they connect with us? And what happened to them? Why is this number 12.5 BP? Why does it keep coming up? What is significant about it? Why is it important? Something happened. Something big happened. And there's a lot of theories that are out there. Robert Schoch has his ideas. Graham Hancock has his ideas. There are other people. Randall certainly weighs in. To be honest with you, the people I trust the most are the rockheads, Robert and Randall. But something significant happened there that impacted this culture that we call Atlantis. And I think it's a really, really important thing to get to the bottom of.
Well, but here's the thing. All right. Well, you want to talk rockhead stuff. All of the Atlantis and this and high technology and culture. Okay, that's all fringy science fiction gobbledygook, really. Right? Until you have evidence.
Right.
And that evidence is friggin' Göbekli Tepe.
Yeah.
Göbekli Tepe dates to at least 10,500 BC. Wait a minute here. This is not a coincidence. And the point being that the Professional Geological Association, when they met in San Diego and got into that blowout fight with Robert Schoch during that press conference, when they said, look, man, show us one thing that's megalithic before 3000 BC and we'll have a conversation. But until then, the facts stay where they are.
How about Baalbek?
What? Baalbek's that's another consideration. Thank you for bringing that up. But what is when Klaus Schmidt did his analysis on Göbekli Tepe in 1995, that's a game changer. But it's a game changer by 8,000 years.
Yeah,
not 1,000 years is a big deal.
Jimmy.
But 8,000 and Scott, the number is the same that is presented over and over and over again around the world.
But here's the thing: that number of 12.5 or 10.5 or whatever you want to say, that goes back to the same time period at Göbekli Tepe. My understanding is that is when Göbekli Tepe was covered up.
That's right.
Okay. Well, if it was covered up, that means it existed before that.
Yeah.
How far back does it go?
That's what I'm saying. So it's at least 12.5
At
BP.
least, yes.
It's at least. There is some speculation right now. Remember, they've used ground penetrating radar. They've got at least. Okay, here's the thing. They've got 25 other stone circles that are there. Now, they're at the top level. Every time you go down, you're getting older. That's number one. Number two.
It's called the law of superposition, right?
That's right, the law of superposition. And then they found 11 more Göbekli Tepes, encircling Göbekli Tepe. So there's 12 teppies right now. This changes things. And why? Here's the thing. We'll discuss this when we come back after the break. Why deliberately bury it? Why? Did you know something catastrophic was going to happen? You needed to leave and you were going to return and you never did? It's pretty strange. Mm-hmm. What's the reason for doing the backfill and burying it? I
have some thoughts on that, but we'll wait till after the break.
Yeah, let's take our break right here. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, the one and only Scott Wolter. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. We'll be right back after this short break. Scott's with us, one, because it's always a great conversation, but number two, he's one of my guests on Into the Vortex. You can check out season 1 right now and the link below. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
You're listening to Jimmy Church and Fade to Black on the X.
Hey, what up, y'all? It's your girl Vivica Fox here, and you are listening to my boy, Jimmy Church, on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Despite popular opinion, reading a book will not make you smarter.
But listening to Jimmy Church will.
I'll be the host and MC once again this year for the 2023 Conscious Life Expo, February 10th through the 13th at the LAX Hilton in Los Angeles, California. This is a 4-day live event featuring hundreds of speakers, exhibitors, and not-to-miss special events. Check this out. Linda Moulton Howe, Bashar, Deborah King, Daniel Sheehan, George Norrie, David Wolf, Sean Stone, Danny Brinkley, Susan Slaughter, the Leo King, David Palmer, Scott Wolter, and another 200 inspirational speakers. Special events include a disclosure lunch with me, Expo's Got Talent, hosted by me, a seance with Susan Slaughter, the George Norrie Forum, and the Leo King is going to DJ at a dance party. Over 200 exhibitors, over 200 speakers. It's the biggest event of the year. Tickets are on sale now at ConsciousLifeExpo.com. For everything you need, info, tickets, schedule, and speakers, please visit ConsciousLifeExpo.com. Go back, Lee Tappy.
This is Billy Carson, founder and CEO of ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. ForbiddenKnowledge.tv is the fastest growing and one of the most watched networks in the world. And I would like to personally invite you to check out our expanding library of TV, film, lectures, and special presentations. ForbiddenKnowledge.tv has over 6,000 videos covering lost history, health, UFOs, spirituality, and our future. We are committed to our community, and with my personal invitation, you can right now get your own free 30-day membership at ForbiddenKnowledge.tv. Your own library of information starts today at ForbiddenKnowledge.tv.
Your 1 million gigawatt paranormal powerhouse, KUNX-DB, the X.
Are you ready to read about true paranormal events? UNX Media publishes nonfiction books about UFOs, ghosts and haunted places, time anomalies, cryptid creatures, and more. Just like KUNX-DB Radio, it's all about unexplained phenomena. Visit www.unxmedia.com to see our list of great book titles by Debbie Ziegelmeyer, Gene Walker, Devin Listrom, Wayne Lawrence, Bill Spicer, and yours truly, Margie Kay. That's unxmedia.com.
Introducing the Game Changer blend from River Moon Coffee that delivers a customized blend made specifically for the Fadernauts. If the game is rigged, change the game. It's a bolder cup with some bite. Game Changer is the coffee of choice for those that prefer an organic dark roast that is slightly lighter and milder, but it's still dark. With wild notes of pecans and chocolate with a rich, balanced, full-bodied cup that is roasted to perfection for a great coffee to start your day, as an after-dinner coffee or anywhere in between. Artisan, small batch roasted to perfection. USDA certified organic, all River Moon coffee is freshly roasted and packaged in the USA. Just go to rivermooncoffee.com or click on the banners over on our site and use the promo code F2B Blend for 15% off of your order today. rivermooncoffee.com.
Are you intrigued by paranormal talk radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app. Free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Erica, Brittany, Gabby, and you're listening to JamieChurchRadio.com.
It's not a lifestyle we chose. We were born this way.
This is KJCR at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. And I'm in a great mood. I can't breathe, but I'm in a great mood because I've got Scott Wolter here. And today was the premiere of Into the Vortex on Gaia TV. Season 1, Episode 1 is airing right now. You can click on the link below and go and check it out. I do want to hear from everybody, your feedback and stuff. And what you thought about it. Now, let's get back to what we were just talking about, Scott. I'm giving you the heads up that we're going live, so take off your glasses.
I'm here, baby. I'm ready.
Scott, try to look young. I took my glasses off. Oh, that's it? No response? See, I'll do this.
How's that?
Just added 10 years. I added 10 years to my age.
No, you look smart, man. Makes you look good.
Okay, smoke and mirrors. Okay, IQ just went up by 10. Why deliberately bury Göbekli Tepe?
Well, something catastrophic was going on. Something happened. And, I'll just tell you a story. This is probably about maybe 6 years ago now. Maybe 6 or 7. I was at a conference. Graham Hancock was there. Robert Schoch was there. And they were talking about this very thing. And the two of them each had a different theory about what happened, what went wrong. Graham's thesis, and I'm paraphrasing, and I apologize to both of them if I don't quite articulate it perfectly, but I just want to preface this whole thing, Jimmy, and I know you feel the same way. I respect the hell out of these guys. I think they're some of the most brilliant minds walking on the planet right now. And at this conference, Graham made the argument that there was a large extraterrestrial meteorite or comet impact that hit the Earth that caused a catastrophe, and basically lowered the worldwide temperature, drove people underground, and the rest just died. It was a catastrophic event that was caused by an extraterrestrial impact, and he went into great details about how it hit at a low angle and this caused more damage and everything else. And that was very plausible and certainly possible. Robert, on the other hand, argued that there was an increase in solar activity, that the atmosphere was bombarded with different types of radiation that essentially caused lightning strikes to develop in the atmosphere and strike the Earth, in some cases that were a mile wide.
Right.
The evidence that he talked about was this vitrified glass that occurs at, basically all around the Earth, and it dates to the same time period, right around 12,500 years BP. Now, Graham's number was different, and I don't remember exactly what it was, but they were off by about 500 to 750 years.
700 years. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
And so I remember I had a conversation with both of them, and I said, why can't you both be right? Because it was sort of and to be quite frank with you, I found Robert's argument to be a little more compelling, at least if I had to pick one or the other, but they both could certainly be true.
What conference was this?
Maybe were true. Maybe they both were true.
It was in Denver.
Was it in Denver?
It was in Denver. Yeah.
Okay.
Do you remember that conference?
I did another conference with all of us, and we were all there discussing it too as well. It doesn't matter. I was just wondering what conference.
And it was in Denver. It was in Denver. Yeah.
Okay, and but see, here's the thing. Okay, let me throw this idea out there. Maybe they were preserving it. Right, that it's
Gobekli Tepe.
Yeah,
no doubt about it. No, in my mind, no doubt about it.
They were allowing us to have access to a perfectly preserved moment in time, right? And I think that is compelling.
I completely agree, but I think there's more to it than that, because what we're finding out is Gobekli Tepe is, what's already been uncovered and what's been studied is amazing, right? I mean, it's absolutely one of the most amazing, ancient sites in the world. I don't think anybody would argue with that is legitimate. But my understanding is they've only uncovered about 5 to 10% of it. Right?
That's right. Yeah.
So there's a lot more to be learned. But it also begs the question you just asked: why would they cover it up? Well, the reason to me is obvious. It was important. It was sacred. It was vital to the culture, and it had to be preserved because it was a Herculean task to cover it up. And it had to be of utmost importance to whoever covered it up, because they wanted to preserve this thing that they felt was vital to their beings, to their existence.
The other part to this, though, and I keep swinging back to Atlantis, and this is why.
Yep.
The knowledge at 12,500 BP, 10,500 BC, the knowledge of organization, of government, of community, of agriculture, of engineering, of quarrying, and art were not supposed to exist. We're not supposed to exist for another 8,000 years. 8,000 years. 8,000 years. So who taught, whoever made Gobekli Tepe and the other ancient sites around there, who taught them the engineering, astrology, right? Agriculture, community. It was supposed to be Stone Age man. And clearly that's not the case. Nobody wants to talk about that. That it's just like, how dumb do you think we are? That we can go and look at all of this, and we can obviously make out what is obvious. That's an advanced civilization. But you don't, Scott, you don't imagine this stuff and just do it. Everything is taught. Somebody, a culture out there, taught them how to do these things.
Mm-hmm.
It's that simple. There's no other way to look at it.
Well, it was obvious that the heavens were important to them, right? Because these are astronomical observatories, as far as I'm concerned. I mean, there's more going on beyond that, but that appears to be the primary function of what was happening at Gobekli Tepe, which begs the question: why was that so important to them? But this is something that we see throughout in all cultures, right? This whole concept of as above, so below. They understood that what was happening in the heavens was important to what was happening down here. And, now we have to start talking about maybe it wasn't just the stars, the moons, the planets. Maybe there were other things up there that they were learning from. Maybe there were other entities that them that they interacted with.
I
think we have to look seriously at that.
Well, when we, I'll go back to the building text from the Egyptians, and where they discuss those that came before and started Egypt, and that the discussion of possibly Atlantis and what Plato was talking about in this island civilization, the survivors came with their knowledge and brought that to Egypt. That's the example of you are taught. Somebody teaches you something. You don't wake up one day, and this goes for Mesopotamia too as well. You just don't wake up one day with engineering, law, right? Music, astronomy, engineering, agriculture, a community, a judicial system. You don't wake up one day with all of that, domesticated wheat. That's a big deal.
Yeah.
Okay,
Jimmy, look at you're asking the question. I'm going to throw it back at you. What do you think? Explain it to me. What is your thesis? How can this knowledge have been passed on to these people? Where did they get it? What is your thought?
My thought is 200,000 years ago. I think that there was an advanced culture 200,000 years ago. And that number is
humans.
Yeah. Well, okay. Look, Homo sapien appeared out of nowhere 200,000 years ago.
Okay.
Right. And our chromosomes, our genes were edited, our DNA. Right. And so we went from 48 pairs to 46 pair of chromosomes. And how does that happen? And the missing link, right? You are a handsome man, right? But Homo sapien, that version, this Adonis version of us that is Scott Wolter, it's only been around for 200,000 years. Where's the evolution? Where's Darwin come into play?
Yeah.
We evolved. We didn't. We just appeared. But the point that I keep going back to is the Sumerian text, Sitchin, the Anunnaki, and these references that keep going back to that number of 200,000 years ago. I remember I had an anthropologist on the show 5 or 6 years ago, and PhD, anthropologist, real deal, right? Doctor. And I said, so what about, 200,000, 48 pair down to 46. You know what his answer was? It just happened, man. And I said, wait a minute. And he goes, look, you got to understand anthropology, and we're not going to go to some alien thing or some time traveler. No, stuff happens. I go, that's the best you can do?
That was his answer?
That was his answer. Stuff happens, and we accept that in anthropology.
Well,
I believe that there was an advanced culture multiple times on Earth, not just once. If we go, okay, Earth is 4.5 billion years old. This is my take. Okay. 4.5 billion years old. 3 billion of those years, we've had oxygen. Before that, molten, crazy atmosphere and lava and whatever. Okay, all right, I get that. But for 3 billion years, do you have any concept of how many years is 3 billion.
Nope.
A million years, right? And then you got to get to 1,000 million to get 1,000 million to get to a billion. And then you got times that times 3. So you go 3 billion years, 200,000 years. Right? Homo sapien sapien. 200,000 years got us to you and I talking on the internet. Right? 200,000 years and here we are. 200,000 years on 3 billion years is the width of this guitar pick.
If that.
So you can take that, if that. So you can take that 3 billion years and you can slice 200,000 years any time in there, and the civilization has come and gone.
Yeah.
And wait, what about the evidence of that? Wait a minute, man. You wouldn't have the evidence of any. Mother Nature will wipe out North America to nothingness in 50,000 years. You wouldn't even know that we were here.
Right.
It's really that simple. So I don't know, but I am convinced that things could have come and gone multiple times. And what would have stopped a civilization? Well, disease, asteroids, warfare, right? Some technical catastrophe, an EMP,
a volcanic explosion.
The multiple things can stop a civilization. So that's my take, Scott. So the survivors of those civilizations have shared knowledge, and that's it. I don't think that's too extreme of a point of view.
Okay, I'll accept that. Let me ask you this. Have you heard anything about this 22% of our DNA being not of this earth?
Yeah.
You have. So that number 22 is a very sacred number in Templarism, in Freemasonry. And you remember you asked me how many hooked X's were on the Kensington Runestone?
Yes.
The answer is 22.
Right.
That is the most sacred symbol to the people that carved that stone. And they wrote it on there 22 times, and the number 22 appears in the inscription, 8 Goss, 22 Northmen. And there are other strange runes that the scholars had troubles with, and the number of those strange runes are confirmed by numbers within the inscription. Like
and I'm 22 years old. Wow. So there's that too.
Well, you're a sacred man. But isn't that interesting, right?
That is interesting.
Is there, I call it the confirmation code, 8G runes, 10WV runes, which the scholars never saw before, that had the dot in the upper left fork, 14 individual numbers, 14 days journey from this island, and then 22 hooked X's, which they had never seen before and was one of the problems they had. It's being used for the letter A, but if you take a look at the Hebrew alphabet, you look at the Aleph, which is the equivalent of A in the Hebrew alphabet, the first letter, it looks like a hooked X. So is there a connection there? There's all kinds of strange things that connect here, and I think that you can look at some of these things that are actually encrypted within the runestone, and I think it might be telling us something about history going back much further, possibly even back to these people that you talked about, the Atlanteans, maybe.
Yeah. You can use the word Atlantean. We don't have the right word in our vocabulary to apply to this yet. It's too far out there and nobody really wants to accept it.
Yeah.
But something is going to blow this out of the water. There's going to be something. And what do you think that's going to be? If Göbekli Tepe wasn't enough to tip this whole thing over, what's it going to take? What do you think will blow this up?
Well, I just think personally, I think I think what's going to blow it up is when they finally reveal the truth about this whole UAP extraterrestrial phenomena that's out there. I mean, I it's funny. I don't know how long I've been on Twitter, but I'm actually thinking about getting rid of it now that it's taken over by a nut job, in my opinion. But I just think that, when I first got on Twitter, I never, ever saw UAPs disclosure, anything to do with the UFO phenomena. And now I can't scroll through my thread and not see something.
Right.
I was just walking in a public place. I saw 3 people with tattoos that had some type of UFO on it, or somebody being drawn up in a UFO or something related to that. We have been classically conditioned. We have been prepared through the media by our government and who knows what other entities for some big announcement, for some realization to happen. So if you're talking about what is it going to take, what is going to be the next big thing, I think that's what it's going to be. I think it's no longer going to be a secret. I think we've been prepared for some type of reality that has always been there, that we now are going to, it's going to be, it's just going to be the way it is. And I think something big is going to happen in that regard. That's my opinion. What do you think?
Yeah, well, it's only going to take one thing, right? Whether it is something about lost history, whether it's something biblical, whether it's ET. But one thing that we have been fundamentally lied to, if that cat gets released, right, that cat gets out of the bag, then all bets are off the table. And it could be ET. It could be Atlantis. It could be, right, it could be any one of these things will just, that's it. And I think that most of the world is, when I say most of the world, I mean this, is starting to question what they've been taught. And I don't care what country you're from, whether it's China. I mean, can you imagine, the story, Plato's cave, right? Okay, so when just imagine where you're a citizen of North Korea and you are told about the rest of the world, and then one day you go out and you see that the rest of the world is not what you've been told. What kind of mind screwing is that going to do?
It's a great question, but you know what, Jim, right now, what we're working on with this whole Templars and these mysterious artifacts and, the native angle and they were guarding the treasures, and the founding fathers use that to create this this republic that we have. It's in peril.
Well, see, that's my point, Scott. Yeah. It's only going to take one thing, right? If your efforts with, it's maps and artifacts and locations and things, just like Timothy Hogan has been talking about too as well. If that happens, that's what I'm talking about.
It's going to happen. That's going to happen. Yeah. We are going to get this information out. Make no mistake about it. Now, how big of an impact it's going to have on the world, I didn't think about it until you just said it just now. For me, I want to get this information out so people understand what really happened and so that they appreciate this nation that we live in. I was recently in Philadelphia, okay? And I went to the National Park Service. You visit the Liberty Bell and you hear about all our founding fathers who did all this stuff that helped, get this whole thing going, that led to the revolution, that led to our country. The thing that astounded me is nowhere in any of those exhibits, nowhere in the people that expounded on their knowledge about whatever they were talking about, never once did I hear the word Freemason or Freemasonry.
Right.
And make no mistake, okay? 53 of the 56 signers of the Declaration were Master Masons. Our country was founded on the tenets of Freemasonry. Why is it that they don't talk about it? Why don't they talk about it? And with all the discussion that's happening right now, with all this craziness in our country, that, you know, people talking about the Constitution and our founding fathers, where is the brotherhood to help people understand what the hell happened? To me, it's mystifying. The truth about our country is just been pushed into the shadows, and it needs. That's why we're doing what we're doing, Jim. That's why we're going to bring the truth out. And like it or not, this is what it's all about. And we got to get this ship going in the right direction, or we're in big trouble.
Thank you so much, Scott. Give my best to Janet. Just another great, unbelievably cool conversation tonight. Thank you for your friendship and all of your help over the years, my man. Thank you so much.
Hey, Jimmy, listen, this is a celebration for you, pal. You worked damn hard 6 years to get this show to happen. I was honored to be, you know, in the first season. And I wish you all the luck in the world. And let me know when you need me again. I'll be out there, and we'll get it on.
Season 2, my brother.
All right.
Give my best to Janet, man. Thank you.
All right, Jimmy. Have a good night, man. Thank you for having me.
You too, Scott. Thank you so much.
All right, brother.
Scott Wolter, and we just went bumper to bumper, pole to pole tonight with Scott Wolter. Perfect conversation. All right, everybody, the link is below. It's really that simple. Into the Vortex did premiere today. Fade to Black is produced by Hilton J. Palm, Renee, Dennis, and Kevin. Announcers are Steve Hart, Gene Vitola, Mark D. Kovar. Webmaster is Drew the Geek. Music, Doug Aldrich. Intro, Spaceboy, spaceboymusic.com. Fade to Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network, and this broadcast is owned and copyrighted 2022 by Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network, Inc. It cannot be rebroadcast, downloaded, copied, or used anywhere in the known universe without written permission from Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tomorrow night, the Fade to Black AMA. Until then, everybody be safe. Go Beckley Tappy.